Hello, and welcome back to the Lifeboat with me, absolutely Arian. And I am so happy to be back here again this Thursday night with you all. Um, and I would just love to ask, as you're joining in, please let me know who you are, where you're watching from. I love to see who's in the room with me so I can interact with you, greet you. And also, as you're coming in as well, I would love for you to just hit share. Sharing the video with on your timeline with your friends, so that they can also hear, some of this content to help them. As you all know, the Lifeboat is really about sharing life lessons that I and some of my guests have learned along life's journey, and so I really love to be able to spread the message as far and wide as possible. Let me just make sure that my status is public so that because it loves to go on private for some reason. There we are. So it should be shareable now. So as you're coming in, please let me know who you are, where you're watching from. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, well, welcome. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button and then also hit the notification bell so that you're notified every time that we go live. I'm normally live every Thursday at 9 p.m., but, just in case you're busy and doing stuff, you can get that notification that lets you know that, we're live, or that you can just catch the replay later. So I see that the numbers are going up. I don't know who's in here, but if I would love for you to just leave a comment so that I can see who you are. And sometimes I think StreamYard doesn't allow your comments to be shown publicly if you don't press accept. So just make sure you hit accept so that you can come in the room and that I can see your comments, I mean. Okay, so want to get into this topic today because it's something that I have been working on rigorously in my own personal life, patience. And I've realized how essential that is to just life, how you treat yourself, how you, have wellness within yourself, and just also how it can be positive for you even in relationships. Listen, it is so important to have patience. Patience in life is imperative. If you don't have patience, you will end up going down a lot of bad roads because you didn't have the ability to just calm down, reflect, and wait. Right? And so patience is not something that I was born with. Patience is not something that I naturally had. And it's funny because people in my workplace and, people who kind of, are more acquaintances of mine are, I'm like, wow, you're just so calm and you're just so patient. And I'm just like, uh-huh. But you don't even know how much self-control is taking me sometimes to just remain in that state. And it's not something that I've always been able to do. It's something that I've had to cultivate. It's something that I've had to practice in order to become prolific at it. And I'm still not even prolific at it. I still have to be conscious at times in my life, depending on what the situation is, on how to be patient. And so I'm going to share with you tonight just some of the tips that I've learned because, like I said, it is essential to be patient and to have patience in life. It will help you to stay away or to keep away a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and allow you to just navigate through life more effectively and just like peacefully, really. When you're able to cultivate patience in your life, you're able to have peace. And peace is just, I don't know about you, but I know peace is just so essential to me at this time in my life. I don't have the ability to I shouldn't say I don't have the ability, but I just don't have the want to deal with anything that does not bring me peace, that just really disrupts my wellness, And so patience really is one of those things that you really need in order to really just live in that place of peace. So, um, we in our generation right now, we do live in a time where peace um, is is just not, I mean, not peace, sorry, but patience is not something that like just kind of we have, right? um we all want instant gratification, and we want things without waiting. We expect packages to be delivered same day. Amazon Prime, right? We expect immediate results in the gym, and and that's like people go on diets, and if they don't see results like the next day or in the first 2 weeks, they're done with it, right? Or working out in the gym, you don't see, your weight go down significantly, you're over it. Um, we have food delivery services now where you can get like your food pre-cut, and everything is just ready to go, and you can cook a meal in 10 minutes. Sorry, you can have a meal ready in 10 minutes for your family. We can even have books read to us. We don't even need to, or just have them summarized for us so that we don't have to, read the whole book. Or, we have faster internet, faster computers, faster phones, faster everything in our culture. And so our culture really has spoiled us. It spoiled us rotten, really, because we've created this expectation, um, that things are supposed to come like this, and I find that has trickled over even to, like, how we see our careers moving. If we don't feel that, we aren't catapulted into like stardom and greatness right away, then, we give up easily. But as the old saying goes, Rome was not built in a day. You really need to remember that, and kind of stay in that place in order to not get lost, right? So, what is patience? And if you're familiar with the Lifeboat, I love a working definition. And so, the dictionary says that patience is the quality of being patient as the bearing of provocation, annoyance, misfortune, or pain without complaint, loss of temper, irritation, quiet, steady perseverance, even tempered care, and diligence. I think that's a really beautiful definition, especially the part that says, without complaint, loss of temper, and steady perseverance. Um, those are all keys in order to have and to maintain patience. Those are all qualities that you have to be able to cultivate, right? But before we get into what we need to cultivate patience, let's talk about what causes impatience, right? Um, I know for me, uh, as I have struggled with anxiety for many, many years now. Um, and anxiety really, it has been the cause of a lot of the times where I've been impatient, right? Anxiety really is rooted in fear. And sometimes it's a unmerited fear as well. It's unsubstantiated. So your thoughts start to spiral. When you have anxiety, your thoughts start to spiral, and you can get sent into panic, right? And then when you panic, or when you start to panic, it can send you into a place where you make impulsive decisions. And then when you start making impulsive decisions, you can end up with the results that are unfavorable, because oftentimes, we don't make wise decisions when we're in a state of impulse, right? When we're making decisions out of impulse, we're making them, right on the spot, not really taking time to think, not taking time to really account for, what the future might look like if I make this decision now. And so impulse, all those words I just gave you, impulse, panic, anxiety, those are all kind of like the ingredients to creating an impatient, or having impatience, and then that turning into an outburst, right? If you've again been here with me on the Lifeboat, you know that I always like to quote Ecclesiastes 8:5, which says, "A wise man's heart discerns both time and judgment." So timing, and judgment. Judgment meaning procedure or the answer to something. Um, a wise man's heart has to discern both of these things. Timing, meaning you have to be able to see when is a good time, when is a good place to attack or to deal with a certain matter. Um, and does and judgment is how to deal with the matter, right? And so you cannot do these things when you're impatient, because discerning time and judgment means that you have to sit back and take a look at what's happening, take a look at, what the outcome is. You really have to sit back and meditate on what is happening. And a lot of the times when you're impatient, you're not gonna stop and do these things, right? So anxiety, all that is rooted in the anxiety. Anxiety is one of the major causes of impatience. Another thing that would cause impatience in a lot of people is what I call the should have, could haves, right? The should have, could haves. So when you make statements like, what I call should statements that imply that something is not the way it's supposed to be, and those things can cause impatience sometimes. When you are talking about, oh, I should have done so and so, or it should have been this way. When you have a should have, could have kind of mentality, that will trigger you into impulse, and it will trigger you into impatience. It will trigger you into just having a state of nervousness, because you're dwelling on what something in the how something in the past didn't matriculate to what you wanted it to be, right? And so how you also have to manage your should have, could haves is by managing your expectations. This is a major key right here. Managing your expectations, right? And this is where a lot of us get into trouble, because we have sometimes unrealistic expectations, or sometimes we just have expectations that we haven't learned how to temper. So when you notice yourself feeling impatient about the same thing over and over again, and experimenting with, you might want to experiment with changing your expectations, or just working on your expectations. So for example, let's imagine that you feel impatient nearly every time that you visit your hairdresser, because especially, I don't want to say it, but our hairdressers a lot of the times are not always the most professional when it comes to time, right? So you visit the hairdresser because, and you realize that they're usually running late, and you have to wait at least an extra 15 minutes for your appointment. And I'm being real generous right now. So extra 15 minutes for your appointment. And now let's imagine you change your expectations now every time that you go, so that you predict it will actually take an extra 15 to 30 minutes before your appointment starts. What if you had managed that expectation, and then because you know that there's going to be an extra 15 to 30 minutes, you budget that into your time, right? And instead of spending the extra time feeling like impatient and sitting there and fuming and tapping your foot and crossing your legs and having an attitude, how about watching, and you're just there, you're just there like watching the clock. How about watching something, getting caught up on, hey, a Lifeboat video that you haven't seen on YouTube, or just, bringing your headphones and listening to a podcast while waiting. Maybe returning a phone call that you've meant to, to do, or going through your phone. And I know if you're anything like me, going through those 300 emails that you haven't deleted and cleaning your phone out. So instead of spending the extra time feeling impatient and watching the clock, you can do activities that will make the time go by a little faster. So managing your expectations is very important because it will shift your perspective on um, what you are going to experience, you know? So you are creating a reality for yourself that allows you to not have a negative experience because your expectations are set up in a way that you will not be disappointed when you get there, because you know from experience that they're always going to be 15 to 30 minutes late. And so that you don't, and that, so that reduces your anxiety, reduces your stress, reduces your, should have, could have's, reduces all those, your impulsive, your frustration, all that, when you decide to manage your expectations, right? So managing expectations is going to be really important now for cultivating patience. Um, Another thing that again, if you're a regular on the Lifeboat, you will know that I've always talked about mindfulness. Mindfulness. This is something that I practice. I try to practice daily. But before we get into that, if you're just joining, we're talking tonight about how to cultivate patience. And I would love for you to just comment. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from. Make sure to hit share, send up some hearts. And if you're watching on the playback, well, welcome. We're no longer here, but I definitely will come back and read your comments. I was talking about mindfulness, right? Practicing mindfulness, well, you really can't practice patience if you're not mindful and aware of the situations that you're in and your reactions to it, right? So I've always, I've given the definition a couple of times, but if you're new on here, mindfulness is really the practice of just being in the moment, and just not focusing on the past, not focusing on the future, but really living in the present moment, right? And what that looks like, living in the present moment, is just being aware. So you have to have a self-awareness um, of not only what's going on around you, but what's going on internally with you. So just being aware of your bodily sensations, being aware of how you feel, what you see, what you smell, what you're thinking, what your mind is. And so that helps with practicing patience, because the practice itself involves paying attention to like I said, the present moment in a non-judgmental way. And it goes hand in hand with your patience. For example, you might wake up in the morning before your alarm goes off and start immediately worrying about your to-do list, right? Hello, Evangelist Rohan. Thank you so much for joining from Toronto tonight. Wonderful. Thank you for joining and just introducing yourself. Whoever else is in the room, I would love to hear from you as well and greet you. Like I was saying, so you wake up in the morning before your alarm goes off, and immediately you start thinking about your to-do list. And you might feel a sense of anxiousness and stress, or being overwhelmed, and feeling that build up. And it might even make you want to jump out of bed earlier just to get started, or it might make you not even want to jump out of bed at all and just stay in there to avoid even having to go into this day that you're about to have, right? However, with mindfulness, you change that. Instead of just choosing to notice you choose to notice your impatience, right? So you take the time to really think about what you're experiencing in that moment, right? And choosing not to react to it, but just to process it. And so this is how you implement mindfulness into your day. So just even taking the time to sit and breathe, just by placing one hand on your stomach, one hand on your chest, and just feeling yourself breathe in and out, right? That already will make you a lot calmer and start to make you feel a little bit more patient, because when you're calm, you're going to be a little bit more patient. And in a way, mindfulness practices can teach us how to be more patient, because when you let go of controlling and rushing, and you simply appreciate the moment, you're able to then, to relax. Hey, Jillian, thank you so much for joining. I'm glad that I'm hitting all the points. I hope you shared this now because, this is a world right now that we're living in, a culture that really lacks patience because we are in the microwave popcorn generation where, we are, creating so much anxiety for ourselves because we do not know how to adjust our expectations. We don't know how to focus in on the present moment. There are a lot of things that we discussed. So if you missed the beginning, make sure you get back to the top and watch it after we go off here, right? So one of the things that I do when for practicing mindfulness, which helps me to kind of hone in and really see where I'm at, is really writing. So journaling. I see this I feel like I say this so often. I never was a Dear Diary type of girl. I did not write diaries. I wasn't somebody who had to write down, how my day went, didn't care, wasn't a thing. But since I've started to practice mindfulness, really to help me to manage anxiety, I've found that writing down helps so much for me to just kind of process my thoughts. So I can better process my thoughts and just understand what was happening in the moment that I was experiencing what I was experiencing, right? It also allows me to go back and read, and reflect and just kind of see what I was experiencing in the moment, why I was experiencing that in the moment, what was triggering for me in that moment for me to, feel that the way I was feeling. And how and it gives me a chance to analyze all that data that I've collected and see what I can do better next time, right? And so because writing will help you slow down and focus on, what's going on, it gives you time to remove the things that are stressing you out, right? And so when I write, I like to ask myself the questions of, why am I feeling impatient in this moment, right? What is causing me to be impatient? And so when I write down, like, I'm impatient right now because I am scared that I'm running out of time to I don't know, what am I running out of time? I'm just trying to think of an example off I'm running out of time to hand in my paper, right? So or I don't know. I don't think that's a really good example, but I'm impatient right now because I feel like if I don't get the results, because I'm waiting for results on something. Okay, sorry, that took a while there for my brain to get somewhere. So I'm waiting on the results for something, right? And I don't, and waiting makes me anxious, and therefore makes me, stressed, and it cultivates impatience. And so then I ask myself another question: how did I get through being impatient in the past? And what did it look like when I was impatient in the past, right? And so when I think about it, well, it caused me stress, and the end result was that, when I got the results, everything was just fine, and I was stressed out for nothing. Or, just realizing and being mindful of the fact that, like, I don't have control at this point, and it's really relinquishing that control, right? I also ask myself the question: what did I learn after after surviving impatience the last time, right? So that goes into what I was saying. Like, I learned that I was stressed out for nothing. I realized that the last time I was impatient, that I made impulsive decisions that really made or break a situation I was in. It really costed me a relationship. The last time I was impatient, and I made impulsive decisions. I acted out of character, and and then I was embarrassed because I acted out of character. So when you practice mindfulness, you're really just taking the time to be introspective and think things through. And when you take the time to actually slow down and think things through, it really slows down the tempo for everything that's going on in that moment and allows you to cultivate patience in that moment, right? Because you're now thinking of you're being intentional about being mindful about what's going on with you right now, and and then just allowing yourself to kind of process it, and then bring yourself back, right? So I talked about practicing mindfulness, right? Writing it down, adjusting, or managing your expectations, right? Managing your anxiety. Another thing I would say to cultivate patience would be befriending the situation. Arian, what do you mean about befriending the situation? Well, befriending the situation looks like um, creating a perception, or it's how you choose to perceive a situation uh, while um, while you are in it. It'll help you deal with your impulse, right? So if I assume that my train or my plane is late because it's averting some unknown danger at the other side, right? Or assuming that this traffic is keeping me here at this time because if 10 meters down the road it, something could have happened. I could have lost a tire or or you know what I mean, whatever. If you allow your perception to be that delay is protection, then you will be less anxious about the delay. You'll be less anxious about the certain things not going your way, and really just being aware, especially if you're a Christian, that like God is in control, right? And so yes, Jillian, perception. Are you asking what perception means? Perception is really just how you see a thing, the way you form your view on a thing, right? On a situation, on an event, on a world view. It's like your ideology. So perception is really just like how you form your view on a thing. So that's why I was saying managing, or you know uh how you choose to perceive a situation is really going to help you to manage how you manage impatience and anxiety in situations that are not necessarily going the way that you would like them to, right? Something that's interesting, I practice patience all the time with my dog. If you guys see me, I post her sometimes, my little Ruby. um you know I always, so with Ruby, especially when I was first training her and stuff like that, um, I would give her, I would give her, when it would be time to eat, I would fill her bowl with food, and she would come running, and I would tell her sit, right? And so she will sit, and I will have the bowl of food at eye level where she can see it. But she and every but she I will not put down the bowl until she sits patiently for a little while. Like I give her a good few like moments just to sit there and have the food in front of her, but she cannot have it until she sits still, and then I put it down. When I put it down, then she can have the food. And so this cultivates patience in her. And so when you practice patience like that, it allows her to understand that she can't always have things when she wants. It also it establishes discipline. So making her wait to have something that she really wants allows her to see that when I leave the house, I'm gonna come back, but it just, you have to be patient, right? And so those little things cultivate bigger things, right? And so I think that everyone should practice patience. They say practice makes perfect. Well, how about if you have a big issue with patience, how about making yourself wait like deliberately? How about making yourself um making yourself, instead of putting your meal in the microwave, how about using the stove instead? Because it's going to take a while for the stove to preheat, and then put your food in there. I'm going to sneeze. Woo, sorry, guys. So practicing patience, like putting yourself in situations where you have to wait on something that um, maybe going into the bank instead of using the ATM machine. How about going in line and waiting for a teller? I know it sounds silly, right? You're just like, why would I do that when I can just use the ATM? But you have to practice patience. You have to practice being able to wait on things so that when you have bigger things that are more important, you have the ability to wait, right? So thank you. Thank you, Jillian. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you're enjoying this. I hope you've shared this, or at least tagged some friends in the comments. Um, Evangelist Rohan, I hope you've shared it as well. Yeah, but practicing patience is going to be. It sounds silly, but it's allowing your psyche and just the way you think to be readjusted, right? Um, and so the things now, just to kind of recap, I've said to cultivate patience, you need to be able to let go of the should have, could have's, right? So should have, could have's are statements that make that, imply that something is not the way it's supposed to be. And so you have to, leave that alone. The should have, could have's, and just be like, instead of I should have done this, I could have done this, just be like, I will do this next time. No, next time I will. It's more positive, and as opposed to the negativity of what didn't happen, right? Managing your expectations. So managing your expectations looks like you know knowing what to expect, because you've experienced something over and over. That, hey, when I go to the hairdresser, they're sometimes 15 to 30 minutes late. So I'm going to utilize that time while I'm waiting to answer emails. I'm going to listen to a podcast. I'm going to catch up on some Lifeboat that I've missed last week. You know what I mean? And do things that are productive in that moment, so that those 15 to 30 minutes are not frustrating for me because I'm looking at the clock and I'm waiting with an attitude, and I'm watching them, eat their lunch and do all these things that just cultivate impatience, frustration, and an attitude in myself that ruins my mood, right? So manage your expectations. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness, again, is just being in the moment, allowing yourself to be aware of what you're experiencing in that very moment, and just allowing yourself to kind of to process that. And I also gave the tool of writing it. Writing it is important if you want to just be able to understand, and to kind of slow things down, and record what you've experienced, that you can also go back to and have a look at why you experience that, and kind of break it down and then analyze it. I said, ask yourself the questions. Why am I impatient? How did I get through being impatient in the past? And what did I learn after surviving impatience? Right? Befriend the situation, which means, I said earlier, choosing to perceive a situation in a different way than what you're experiencing, choosing to be positive about your perception. You know, maybe this is God's protection. Maybe the delay is God's protection. Maybe it didn't happen yet because it's not the time. And just kind of resting in that peace. And that place of peace. And then lastly, we're just practicing the patience, putting yourself in situations that you can cultivate that muscle, cultivate that ability to be able to wait at times. Not always going the fast way, maybe not taking the highway, but maybe taking the scenic route, maybe taking the service roads. Sometimes that's actually even faster, but just taking your time to do things at times will help you to cultivate patience. So I just want to leave you guys with this last thing before we close. a scripture that I love to meditate on, which again, if you've been here on the Lifeboat, you've heard me say it many, many times, but it's Philippians 4:6, which says, "Be anxious for nothing, but with everything through prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known unto God, and the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will keep your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus." Right? Um, Peace is a huge element of having patience. Absolutely, Jillian. We are definitely in the microwave fast food culture, which has really ruined our ability to be patient. Um, But I believe that everything through prayer and supplication, let your request be made known unto God, and the peace of God. That the peace of God is something that will really keep your heart, your mind, which is where all of these things stem from: the anxiety, the impulsiveness, the negativity, the fear. When God is keeping your heart and your mind, that gives you a supernatural peace that surpasses all understanding, which means that you can't even understand how you're having peace in such a volatile place, in such a traumatic place, but you have peace because God is keeping you, right? And so, why that's important is because something that I pray for all the time is peace. I always ask God for wisdom, discernment, to sharpen my discernment, um, and for patience, to wait on the answer. So discernment, I always ask God for wisdom and the patience. Those are always one of the top three things that I pray for in my life, because I understand that wisdom is going to take you further in life than anything. Because when you have wisdom, you can decipher what is profitable and what is not profitable, what is a good decision, what is a bad decision, right? Discernment also allows you to feel out what direction you need to go in, right? Discernment allows you to feel out what is no good for me and what is, so wisdom and discernment go hand in hand. And patience is really to kind of to have the ability to have good timing, right? Like I said earlier, Ecclesiastes 8 says, "A wise man discerneth both timing and judgment," right? Timing and judgment being the procedure, the answer, the way to go about things. Correct, correct. Carlton says wisdom is the correct application for knowledge, 100%. And so, um, a wise man discerns both timing and judgment, and you need discernment. You need discernment for that, right? And so, with that said, I just pray that all of you who are watching, if you're watching on live right now, if you're watching on the replay, that patience finds you, and that patience rules in your life. Patience is one of those things that is a crucial characteristic to have in your life. Um, Patience will make you avoid uh, sometimes disastrous situations. Waiting is the hardest thing for us to do a lot of the times. Waiting is incredibly difficult, especially when you don't know what you're waiting for or how long you have to wait, right? And a lot of the times, especially if you are a believer, waiting on God can be so incredibly hard, and you have to work on having your faith intact, right? You have to work on having the word of God in you, so that you understand that God is a man of his word. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And so if he says in his word he will never leave you nor forsake you, then he means he will never leave you nor forsake you. And so having the faith that he does it, that he will do what he said he will do, will then cultivate patience. And let me tell you, I know more than anybody else that it is easier said than done. But when you practice patience, when you take all these points that I've given you and implement them into your life, you will see a drastic difference in not only how you make decisions, but on your state of mind and your wellness while you wait. So, with that said, thank you so much for watching tonight. Thank you for all who participated, all the comments, the hearts, the thumbs up. I really appreciate you coming in tonight. Carlton says, with the right discernment, you will know the times and the season for everything. Absolutely. You are on 100% correct, Carlton. I really do agree with that 100%. Um, so we will be coming to a close right now. So thank you so much for joining. If you haven't shared this video yet, share it. I know you know somebody who needs a little bit more patience in life. I think we all can use a little bit more patience. And so I think it's an essential thing to have in our lives in order to have peace. And so I just implore you to share, to like, to comment and leave tag your friends in the comments so that they can get in on this whole thing. And then also, if you're watching on YouTube, or if you don't know yet, I do have a YouTube channel also where you can watch this. And so it's the Lifeboat with Absolutely Arian, and make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications whenever we go live. I am live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and just talking about life lessons I have learned along life's journey and sharing them with you so that you do not have to either go through the same thing, or if you're going through the same thing, that you can find your way out. That's what the lifeboat is. That is what a lifeboat is for. It's for going to sea to rescue those who are in distress, who have been shipwrecked. And so that is what I feel like I've been called to do. And so this is what the mission really is about. It's not about the numbers. It's not about the, going viral. It's really about helping those who need it. And so this is why I ask you to share. This is why I ask you to tag your friends, because I believe that when we all are doing better, that we can cultivate better people, better generations, better relationships in our lives, which affects everybody around us. So let's continue to help those who need it. And with that said, we will be back again next week. But until then, sail on.